You know, we throw around the word universal all the time, from universal healthcare to universal truths, but what do we actually mean when we use it? Well, today we're going to break it down. We're going to demystify this massive concept with a super simple tool that will help you see it with total clarity.
So here's the plan. We'll start by looking at why universal can be so confusing. Then, I'm going to give you this awesome 3-part formula to clear things up. We'll try it out with an easy example. Then we'll get into the tricky stuff like finite versus infinite sets. And, you guessed it, we're going to wrap it all up by talking about artificial intelligence.
Okay, let's dive right in. Think about it. We are just surrounded by this word universal, right? You hear universal design, universal principles, even the universal language of music. It's everywhere. But what's the common thread here? What are people really saying?
So, when someone makes a universal claim, what are they getting at? Is it really just a vague way of saying, oh, this thing is, well, it's everywhere? Come on, there's got to be a better, more precise way to lock this down. And there is.
And yeah, there totally is a more precise way. In fact, there's this brilliantly simple formula that cuts through all the noise. It helps you get super clear on any statement about universality. It's a real game changer.
Okay, here it is. The secret sauce. Any universal claim, and I mean any, no matter how big or complicated, can be boiled down to just 3 simple parts. Seriously, this is like the decoder ring for what universality actually means.
So what you're always looking for is a specific system, how it relates to something, and what that something is, a particular set of things. And here's the absolute kicker, the most important part. The relationship has to apply to every single member of that set. Not most of them, not some of them, every single one.
I know. That sounds a little abstract, right? System, relationship, set. So let's make this real. Let's use a simple real-world example. This is where you'll see just how powerful this little formula really is.
Okay, take this claim. Nouns are a universal feature of human languages. Let's plug it into our formula. What's the system? It's nouns. What's the relationship? It's are present in. And what's the set? All human languages. Boom. Suddenly, it's not some vague idea anymore. It's a concrete, testable statement.
And this is why the formula is so cool. You can tweak any one of those pieces and you get a totally different claim. For instance, change the system from nouns to verbs, or change the relationship from are present in to are essential to. Each change creates a whole new, super specific idea you can actually go out and investigate. All right, so all human languages is a pretty big set, but it's still manageable. But here's where things get really interesting, because that little word all can get tricky. The size of the set we're dealing with, whether it's something you can count or something literally infinite, changes the game completely.
So you have finite sets. These are things you can count, even if it takes a while, like all the books on my desk. You could, in theory, check every single one. But then you have infinite sets. And this is where the really big, mind-blowing questions live. We're not just talking about things that exist, but everything that could ever possibly exist.
Yeah, infinite sets. Think about it. All possible computations, or all possible explanations for a phenomenon. Whoa. When you start making universal claims about those kinds of sets, you're stepping into the deep end. You're talking about the fundamental limits of knowledge, creativity, and intelligence.
And speaking of intelligence, that leads us perfectly to maybe the most ambitious, most challenging infinite set humanity is grappling with right now, the whole quest to build an artificial general intelligence, what we call AGI. Let's use our trusty formula to see if we can make sense of this massive goal. Okay, let's plug AGI into the formula. The system? That's a mind, whether it's human or AI. The set? It's, well, everything. All possible computations, all possible explanations, the whole shebang. But what about the relationship? See, that's the billion-dollar question, isn't it? What is the critical link between a mind and everything it could possibly think? Well, the people working on this stuff, the researchers, they've zeroed in on 3 really key relationships. First, there's reachability. That just means, can a mind even get to any given idea in the first place? Then you've got tractability. Okay, maybe it can get there, but can it do it efficiently, without taking a trillion years? And last, there's recognition. Once the mind gets an idea, does it even know if it's a good one or just junk?
And you really have to keep these two separate, especially reachability and tractability. Reachability is the big, theoretical yes or no. Is it possible in principle, even if it takes forever?
Tractability is the real-world gut check. Can you get there in practice with the time and resources we actually have? Huge difference, and both are absolutely critical.
And this all leads to this really cool paradox. Think about the most powerful type of computer we can imagine. It's called a universal Turing machine. Its incredible power comes from a surprising place. It starts out completely empty. It's a blank slate. It's not crammed with programs. Its power is just its ability to wait for you to give it a recipe and then follow it perfectly.
So, what's the big takeaway here? Real power, true universality, isn't about what's already baked in. It's not about having a million pre-programmed features. It's about having that universal capacity to learn or create any program, any recipe from the ground up.
Which kind of leaves us with this final big question to chew on. Maybe intelligence, our own or the artificial kind, isn't just a system that can create and use any tool from that infinite set. Maybe the real magic is that it can create a tool and then use that tool to make an even better tool, and so on, forever. Is intelligence just the ultimate tool for making new tools?